This is another Sports Lodge quick hit. It's an NHL edition. It's Friday, July the 3rd. We're about a week past the NHL draft lottery, and there have been a lot of combating opinions about exactly what happened last week and having a placeholder team actually get the number one overall selection. So some teams are mad, some teams are not mad, and there are reporters in the middle telling each side of the story. I'm here to give you my opinion on what I think about it. And I think it's absolute crap, to be honest with you. The fact that a Stanley Cup contender, and I'm looking at you, the Pittsburgh Penguins, you have been there, you've been to the dance too recently to be considered for the number one overall pick. You're in the playoffs, you're ranked number 5. It's just not right. It leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. Could you imagine Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Alex Lafreniere? They'd win the cup next year, they'd win the cup the year after that. It would make people sick, almost to the point when Edmonton was getting first overall pick after first overall pick, right? I mean, just imagine it. Go back to the Austin Matthews draft, Leafs Nation. Think about it this way. You are ranked the team that is going to get, most likely get Austin Matthews. And then out of nowhere, the black and gold, the Boston Bruins come and get the number one overall pick right from under your nose and draft Austin Matthews. And you got to watch 34 skate around out there in black and gold. And it's just a nightmare. It's a nightmare situation. I can totally understand where the Senators and where the Red Wings are coming from. And I mean, I understand. Look at me. I'm in a Leaf jersey. You probably thinking to yourself, why is the Leaf fan mad? If the Leafs lose out in the first round or in the play-in round, they have a chance at Lafreniere too. Guess what? Not happening, ladies and gentlemen. The Leafs aren't losing to the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'm telling you this. They're too young and they're too well rested. Morgan Riley has been injured all year long. He's had a down season, and now he's probably healthier than he's been in the last 5 years because of all this downtime. What I'm worried about is possibly Frederick Anderson and his ability to lock it in. But you know what? That's the same for every single goaltender in the NHL right now. I think the Leafs are too young, they're too fast, and they're going to just steamroll over Columbus. Now, stop me if this sounds familiar from last year's playoffs when Tampa Bay lost to Columbus and everyone was shocked. I just think it's a little bit different this year. It's just going to be hard to get going. And the younger your team is, the better off you're going to be. I just think the Leafs are going to be too powerful for the Blue Jackets, and they're not gonna lose in the play-in round. They're going to go on to face whoever is the number 1 seed or number 2 seed, sorry, in the play-ins or in the round robin for the top 4 seeds. It's going to be interesting. It's supposed to be Boston as a lock, but that's not a lock anymore. Boston could have a horrible 4 games, and then the Leafs end up facing the Philadelphia Flyers. Who knows? It's actually quite scary because going into it, Philadelphia was on quite the tear, and they do deserve to be in that top four round robin game. Now, in regards to the winners and the losers of the draft, there really is only one winner of the NHL draft, and that's Alex Lafreniere. Because going into this, the two choices you basically had were Detroit and Ottawa. And if we're being honest, both those cities kind of have a little bit of odor to them. I mean, Detroit's on the up and up. They've got Stevie Y as the GM. At least you don't have to deal with Eugene Melnyk as your owner, because God knows what that's like for the players. I mean, I feel for Mark Borowicki. He's basically Eugene Melnyk's loudspeaker whenever he wants to say something through a player's mouth. But yeah, Alex Lafreniere, definitely the winner, because now he gets to go to a Stanley Cup contending team, whether that's the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Toronto Maple Leafs, not going to happen, the Montreal Canadiens. Now that is an interesting, spicy little tidbit. Could you imagine if the Montreal Canadiens bowed out and against the, I believe it's the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they get the number 1 overall pick, Alex Lafreniere, the French-Canadian superstar that they've been looking for to lead the team? That would be quite the storyline. I think you'd have a bronze statue of Marc Bergevin and maybe something to do with the NHL logo, because they'd be so happy with the draft lottery fell in their favor. In regards to losers, we know who the losers are. The losers are the Detroit Red Wings and the Ottawa Senators. Now, I guess you look at Ottawa and they're drafting 3 and 5, and they get two top 5 picks, but when you're expecting the likes of Alex Lafreniere or at the very least Quentin Byfield, it's just it's a big letdown to not get those picks. And Los Angeles, obviously, I guess I should say they're also a winner for moving up and being able to get Byfield. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly who gets drafted where, when this draft takes place, and what picks get traded for what. I don't think Alex Lafreniere gets traded. Whichever team is lucky enough to get that number one overall pick, they're going to keep that guy because he's a generational talent. He may not be a center, but he's definitely a generational talent on the wing. Okay, moving on. I want to get to the NHL hub cities because it has been a little bit of a roller coaster for the NHL when it comes to this. And everybody was expecting this news a week ago during the draft lottery or just before it, and it never happened. And I guess now we know because a week ago, it was a lock, L-O-C-K, that Vegas was going to be the hub city for the Western Conference. And if you listen to another show I'm on, the post-game press conference, you will have heard my disbelief in the fact that Vegas was even going to be able to host as a hub city because of the fact that it's a hot spot for coronavirus and exactly what's going on in the States with the pandemic and their inability to handle it. I also went into detail about how the NHL is possibly the only league that has the ability to just up and pack it all in and bring it all to Canada because, hockey is Canada. We've got a lot of rinks here. We've got a lot of spots you could go to. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. We're now talking about Edmonton and Toronto. Edmonton is the west hub city and Toronto is the east hub city for the NHL. And the only question now is who gets to host the Stanley Cup Finals? And it was reported that it was already decided going to be Edmonton because of the fact that people were thinking public safety and they've been able to handle it just a little bit better than Toronto. But recently, Bob McKenzie has walked that statement back and said that there is no firm decision yet. And I personally believe that the NHL would love to have it in Toronto, but they're just waiting to see exactly where this goes. If the virus picks up in Toronto or if it doesn't, if it goes down to the same levels as Edmonton or completely goes away in the time that the NHL's there, then why wouldn't they have it in Toronto? It's the mecca of the hockey world. Personally, unless the blue and white are involved in it, I think it would leave a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth if the cup was raised in Toronto at Scotiabank Arena and it wasn't being raised by the Toronto Maple Leafs. So bring it all over to Edmonton because I don't know if they'll care over there, but I think Leafs Nation will care here. That's all I got for you on this quick hit edition of the Sports Lodge. It's the NHL. It's July the 3rd. Peace.